pounder. Been working on a pretty good bag today, fellas. It's not a bad thing right there when you're bringing in fish like that. Caught them all today on a black blue jig with a Mega Daddy as a trailer, and that was a big part of it right there. You know, a lot of people get down and out when they get negative on a post spawn tournament. The bite gets tougher, you know, the weights are down. They don't have that bag full of eggs too, but it's one of them things you can't let it bug you. Oh, I said 5. It was 4 pounds, 15 ounces. My bad. But you just got to keep your head together on those post spawners, and one of the things that I always use to remember, especially when I'm up north, is you got to remember the 3 S's. You got to always look for your structure. Those fish, you know, there's a great big spawning area in there, and that fish right there, she was in there, she was spawning, you know, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, and right now we're in like a transition period where they got done spawning and they're moving out to their summer patterns. You know, I have 30-40 foot of water out there with some humps and some edges. So the first S that I always focus on is structure, and it doesn't matter what it is. You know, ideally you're looking for something hard, whether it be a boulder, or a tree, or an edge, but any port in a storm in a situation like that, if it's a weed line or a dock or just an underwater point or anything like that, they're gonna relate to the first one they can get to when they move out. And there's a pretty good chance they spent some time there when they were roaming around before pre-spawn, you know, during pre-spawn too. So some of those areas that you caught them in pre-spawn, it's a pretty good idea to move out. Now that's your first S. The second one is size. That's something that a lot of guys don't do because the bite gets tougher. They downsize, and I do the opposite. I like to go bigger because those fish, they're slowing down. You know, they just been through a lot. You know, they might be they might not be eating as much, but they're not going to pass up a giant meal. So you throw like a Mega Daddy. Look at the size of that thing. That thing's 5 inches by probably 3 inches wide. There's one out of the package right there. And I'll throw a big jig on, you know, big skirt that flares, 1/2 ounce, 3/4, 1 ounce, and throw one of those on. And usually that big fish that's looked at, you know, 50 baits or 100 other things swimming by will grab that big bait. So that's the second S. And then the third and the most important one, I think, out of the whole thing is speed. You really got to slow it down. Those, you know, those fish they just moved out. They've been in there worried about birds coming down on them, chasing bluegills off their beds, chasing pickerel, everything that comes around, seeing 100 guys come over their heads and doink lures on them, you know, a bunch of jokers, and they moved out, and they're not really fast. They're not moving fast. They want to put the feed bag on, so you got your size, you got your structure, and then just slow it down. That's one of the most important things, is the speed. And you slow it down, you put those 3 things together, and I guarantee you'll have a really good post-spawn bite and give your shot a chance to win a tournament.